Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to draw the arms. Now I'm going to be going for a more simplified version of the arm muscles. So I'm going to be dividing it into upper arm and lower arm, and they're going to be simplified because there's a lot of muscles in the arm that you guys don't really need to draw, but they're in the arm, and then it'll be way too complicated for you guys for even me to really memorize everything, and it'll be even harder for you guys as beginners to really kind of take in. So if you want to take an intensive anatomy class, then they would explain the really intricate muscles inside the arms. But I'm just going to go for a simplified version just because it is a lot easier. So let's first off just draw a very simplified arm. And usually an arm can be just done by this. So you draw a line, then you just divide it by half. There's your upper arm and there's your lower arm. But about 1/3 of the way or 1/4 of the way is your hand from the bottom. So let's go ahead and draw some rectangles. So usually arms can be classified, or just not classified, can be represented as little rectangles. Just simply like this. And then here we have the hand, which we will go over later. And then what we can do is once we have this shape, then we can go ahead and transform that into something more like, let's say I'm going to just draw a very light version of it. So I have a rectangle one here. I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me go and zoom in. So you have, your arm here, half and half, just approximately. And then what you can do is you can indicate, stuff like the deltoid. Just kind of slightly. Your bicep, and then your elbow. And then usually when it comes to the forearm, there's always like this little bump that comes out, and then it thins out as it gets to the wrist. So just by doing that, it's a lot easier, isn't it? So I would say, like for anime, when you're drawing anime, I would say this is the style to go for. It's super simple and it's super nice. You can even add on top of the forms, you can even add, bits of the bicep or bits of the deltoid and bits of the, everything else. So this is, I would say, go for something like this rather than, first start out with this, then start out with this. And that will pretty much be that for the arm, very simplified. Now I can also give you simplified muscles as well. So first, of course, when we draw the arm, I'm going to be drawing these in different forms. So let me go and first do a version of facing forward. So this is when you have your hand facing up, and I will just draw that real quick. So first let's go ahead and draw in our arm, just very roughly. And here we have our palm, our hand facing up, our thumb is this way. Let me see if it's all in frame. That's good. It's all in frame. And then I always like to simplify my hands like this. Maybe with the pinky out, the middle finger and the fourth or the ring finger grouped together, and then the index finger kind of separate. So this is how I like to start off. Then, because we're on this side, the arm is rotated, it's more facing forward. Here are the muscles. So here we have our classic deltoid. You never fail for that. Here we have our bicep, which is our main muscle in the front. The back is more like stuff like the tricep, but we don't really see that. Here's the elbow. Then I believe that this is the extensor and the flexors. I just don't know which one it is, but I know that there is a muscle that covers the forearm, and there's basically split in half like this. And that creates the kind of like nice bump to it. So I will update you on what muscles these are, whether this is the flexor or this is the extensor, but I can always just add that to the downloadable resources, so stay tuned for that. You just have to remember for yourself, you just remember where the muscles are placed. So that is the very simplified version. Now let's go for more of a side view. So once again, we are going to draw a arm. So let's have it slightly bent. We have our arm just kind of done made as rectangles. And I'll tell you guys how to draw a more cylindrical version of it. Actually, rather than make it bent like that, I think what I'll do is just I'll make it straight again instead. So, as you can see, the kneaded eraser is awesome. So let's have it slightly bent, but not too bent. And these can work for both girls and guys. Just make sure that when you're drawing a girl, it's just a little bit smoother. It's more softened. Anyways, so once again, I'm going to just draw the deltoid, or not the deltoid, the pec here. So we know what angle we're going from. This is a classic side view of the arm. And here we have the hand. Actually, I would make that a little bit smaller, like that. So here, of course, we have our deltoid. And the deltoid has a bit like 3 heads. It'd be like one section is in the center, and then another section is on the other side, and then this section is on the other side. So if you want to take note of that, you can. So here is your, in the middle, let's actually go for bicep first. Our bicep is on the inner part of our arm. And it goes all the way to the middle of the arm. Then we have our tricep, which can be kind of grouped into 2 muscles. Tricep is just one muscle, but it's kind of probably split in half somewhere. It's sort of similar to your calf muscles, your hamstrings, or your calf. I think it's your calf muscle, or exactly. I think it's your calf. I think it's your, no, not your calf. I think it's your hamstring. Sorry about that. So it kind of has this feel to it. It's either the calf or something else. I don't exactly remember. I just know that the arm is the knee, is the leg, but backwards, or vice versa. So this is what the tricep looks like. This is kind of like split in half, and then there's a muscle going out from it. It's either a tendon or it's the actual tricep, just in different parts. So this is what the tricep actually looks like in comparison to this. So you have a tendon that, or the elbow kind of sticking out here. This is the tendon. Here in the middle is your brachialis, yes. And down here on the forearm muscle, here is your extensor. So I'll just group that into one big muscle. Of course, there's multiple muscles involved, but we are just going to do that. And I believe that this is just the other side to it. So that is what the side view of the arm looks like. And yeah, let's see what else I can do when it comes to drawing this. Oh, I think I should draw the back version of this as well. So back version of this will look similar to this, just a little bit more rotated. So let's go ahead and draw our arm sort of bent. So if you want to look at some cylinders, you can see that we're looking up at this one and we're looking down at this. And then we can draw our hand. So of course here we have the deltoid once again. It's kind of like in the middle a little bit, in the center of the side of the, in the center of the cylinder itself. And here we have the brachialis. Here we have the, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I think this is the brachioradialis. You don't have to remember all these terms. These are just the muscles that you just have to remember what they look like. And I believe that there is a extensor in the inside. I'll just group this as one muscle, just call these extensors. I'll have to look at, once again, the muscles involved in it, so I'll have to update you guys on that. Here is the tricep at the back, split into 2. Here is the tendon that kind of goes across. and your bone kind of split in the middle. Then here's your flexors, I believe, on the other side of your arm. Here's your bicep, which is on the inner parts. And that is pretty much it for this video. I will add any other videos if I feel like I'm missing something. I don't think I am. Let's see here. Nope, I don't think I am. Maybe I'll go through a little bit of the hands. Oh, actually, let me actually go through the rotation of the arm. So I will go ahead and do that. So when it comes to the rotations of the arm, let me move down my sketchbook for a second. There, making it straight. So you have one direction. Let me just draw an arm here. You have one direction, as I mentioned earlier, going straight out. And notice that when it comes to the elbow, it kind of causes a nice little bump to go out. And here is the hand. So the hand, when the thumb is facing up like this, that means the palm is facing, your palm is facing up this way. Now let's do our arm facing this way. Actually, let's do one next to it. Maybe I'll do it above. Let me just move this more to the center and zoom in. So here we have one arm, and then the other arm, let's rotate it more the other way. This is where your other side is facing. So your thumb facing this way is where your back side of your hand is facing up. So how do the forearm muscles kind of rotate? Well, let's first start drawing our other muscles first, and then we can go ahead and do that real quick. So here we have our deltoid once again. And here we have our bicep. All the way down to the elbow. And then here we have our one part of the forearm muscle going this way. I believe this is the extension of the, once again, I will label all these later on once I figure these out. And then we have the other muscle along the radius coming along here. Okay, so I actually forgot to mention something. When it comes to the arm muscles, they kind of overlap on top of your radius and ulna. So your radius and ulna is, okay, first let me just go ahead and make a small diagram here. First, your main arm, your arm bone is called the humerus. That is your main, or your long bone that's on your upper arm. And of course, here, we have, for the forearm, we have your radius and ulna. So depending on where your pinky is, if your pinky is this way, going facing up, then more and more of your, you can start feeling a little bit of your elbow, and you can see that, whoops, this is not a very good angle to show this because it's all zoomed in, but basically if you feel your pinky and you go down to your elbow, that is your ulna. It stays where it basically stays, it stays where it's at. It doesn't move. However, if you go from your thumb, that is where your radius is. And your radius is the one that rotates your arm, or makes your arm rotated. And that depends on what muscle it is. So right now the ulna is this way because the pinky is this way, and therefore the radius is not really rotated at all. However, when we do this one here, you will be able to see that this muscle on the forearm will be overlapping and crossing over on the other side. So I would say that the radius and the ulna, it's sort of like this. This is your radius, this is your ulna. This is where the pinky's at. This is where the other fingers are, and this is where the thumb is at. So just kind of keep this in mind. It's not, obviously it's not the most exact, it's just very, very simplified. But it's enough to have you understand what's going on in the body. So anyways, let's go ahead and draw the other one. So the upper arm will still be pretty much the same. You have their bicep, our main bicep down here. However, this side, you know how this side is more straight? This muscle crossing over on top will overlap on top and cover most of this arm here. Then the muscle on the radius side, or not the radius, then the muscle on the ulna side will be a bit smaller. So you can see that it kind of rotates over on top. So I'm going to put a little arrow over. This is straight. This is turned. So you can see that this muscle kind of just overlaps on top, where this is more straightforward. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I will label everything once I once I get all the names pretty much done, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.